Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. It's Mitchell Renz here from Chat Sports. And coming up on today's show, we're going to look at the top 10 running back replacements for the Silver and Black in case the worst case scenario happens. Either Josh Jacobs holds out, demands a trade, and is no longer a member of the Silver and Black. Now, I'm going to make this point very, very clear. I want number 28 to be on this team. I believe that Josh Jacobs is going to be on this team, but the NFL is always extremely unpredictable. Imagine how many people said, they're never going to trade away Khalil Mack. Well, guess what? Sometimes crazy shit can happen. So I want to show some love to Josh in case he stumbles across this video, because there are going to be a lot of people that see this go out and they're like, Mitch wants the Raiders to trade away Josh Jacobs. No, that is the last thing that I want to do. In fact, I'm making this video that hopefully McDaniels and Ziegler see, oh shit, the replacements are not very good. So if you want Josh Jacobs to be back on the Raiders in 2023, I want you to hit that like button right now. So the reason why that we are talking about this is because Jacobs hasn't signed his franchise tag yet. Don't worry, he still has until July 15th, July 17th in order to do that. And he can't participate in any team activities in the meantime. So the rumors are continue to swirl around since he is not at and was not at Raiders mandatory minicamp. It does still sound like Jacobs wants a new deal, obviously coming off a career year where he had over 2,000 total yards, and he could hold out if he doesn't get one. Like, it is a possibility. There is not a 0% chance that happens. I don't think it's a smart move for Josh, but it could happen. Jacobs wants to be paid like a top running back after a career year. Imagine if you were at work and you had a solid year at work. You would probably want a raise, would you not? Raiders want Jacobs on the team. Like, let's not get this twisted. Josh McDaniels, and I know McDaniels has said a lot of things about, we want Waller, 2 weeks later trades him away. I'm telling you right now, Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, they want Josh Jacobs on this team. And I know Josh, for a fact, wants to be a Raider. So those two have been talking. I just think that they're working out the logistics of what a contract could potentially look like. And I'm not saying that you're going to go out and get Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey type of money. But if I'm Josh, I'm sitting there going, well, shit, I deserve to be at least I don't know, in that range between Kamara, Dalvin Cook. I am curious to see what ends up happening with Saquon Barkley, because Barkley's looking for $16 million. Brandon Marshall last week said that the running back position is the most underpaid and underappreciated position. Josh shares that on his social media, and the rumors continue to go. Now, what I personally would do, if you are going to extend Josh, the entire offseason, the one thing that I said was the best thing for the Raiders is to franchise tag him, because then it's another prove-it year. But if Jacobs goes, no, ain't going to happen, this would be the contract extension that I would offer him coming off the year that he did. I'd give him a 3-year, $38.4 million deal, so that puts you right in between the Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara number at 12.8. I'm going to give him $22.2 million guaranteed, which is a little bit more than what Nick Chubb got. And then you have in 2023, 2024, solid numbers. And if he's still a top running back, then he has the opportunity to make $15.2 million, but none of it's guaranteed. And if the Raiders want to move on, they could potentially do that. So I'm giving him double the amount of money for guaranteed compared to what he would make on the franchise tag at 10.09. I do not think that a holdout is a smart move for Jacobs. So I really personally hope from a Raiders standpoint and from a Josh probably wouldn't be like, yeah, Mitchell Renz is my friend. But from a friend standpoint, I would say, hey, man, I wouldn't recommend it. Look at what happened to Le'Veon Bell. The NFL is a what have you done for me lately type of league. And if he does hold out and if he doesn't play up until like week 8, you're going to be looking at a really bad situation for Jacobs, because I think he's really going to cost himself a lot of money. If you don't play under the franchise tag, you do not get paid. Now, Nation, I want you to help me win our Chat Sports subs battle in June. You guys have been killing it, but guess what? It is a big-time battle, and I'm really starting to climb close to number 1 with the Cowboys report. But if you want free videos every single day around news, rumors, segments like this, hit that subscribe button. And if you don't like what you see, you can unsubscribe. It's literally not going to cost you anything. But I promise, the Nation, we're a family here, and I'm giving shout-outs to all the new subs that we got. So Joe I, Adrian, Ryan, Jorge, Joey, and then the Continental OP7. I appreciate you taking time out of your day not only to watch the videos, but click that subscribe button. So coming up here, I got the top 10 Jacobs replacements, and I have them ranked from 10, and I'm going to work my way all the way down to 1. Number 10. Rex Burkhead. You could end up signing him, and the reason why he makes the list, it's not because he's good. In fact, he's not good. He shouldn't be on a lot of teams. But he has a lot of past relationships with McDaniels, with Ziegler on the New England Patriots this past season, played with the Houston Texans. More Nick Caserio ties in that regard, so Rex Burkhead does end up making my list. Let's go to number 9 here, and it's Melvin Gordon. One of my good friends is really tight, sounds weird, with Melvin. He actually lives out in Las Vegas already. And he's always, bringing family members in, having a good time. Melvin last season did struggle holding on to the football, and it's ultimately why he was released by the Denver Broncos. And ball security is something that this Raiders regime and most teams really preach. So Gordon, because he's out in Vegas, I do believe he would take a cheaper contract. And if the Raiders were in full panic mode, like they would be, let's face it, if Jacobs holds out or demands a trade, that's full-on panic mode. And if that happens, you might have to look for free agency, you might have to make a few trades, and you might have to make a few difficult decisions. So how about this? This is one of the main questions that I want y'all to answer, and we're going to make this the pinned comment. So please go down in the comments right now and let me know what's going to happen with Jacobs this offseason. If you think that he's going to sign his franchise tag, type F. If you believe that he's going to hold out, type H. If you think that he's going to end up getting his contract extension, type E. If you think he demands a trade, then I want you to type T. Next player coming up here on Jacobs replacements is Kareem Hunt. Let me just be very clear with Hunt. If Kareem Hunt, based on a talent situation alone, deserves to be a lot higher on this list because of his versatility. But what happened to him when he was a rookie, let's say that, I don't know if the Raiders would actually bring him in because of the whole Bolden situation early on. He is one of the better free agent running backs out there, but if Mark Davis is true to his word, Kareem Hunt will never be a Raider. Let's go to number 7 here. It's Britton Brown. This could be a replacement. They decide, you know what? No, we're not going to go out and trade for anyone. We're not going to go out and sign a free agent. We could potentially look at a rookie or second-year player now after taking him in the 7th round out of UCLA. Britton Brown, to me, is a running back that doesn't have a lot of talent, but he is at least a reliable ball carrier, not going to put the ball on the ground, and it saves the Raiders some money. Let's go to number 6 here. This is one that you have to make a trade for, or if Dalvin Cook is released, which has been circulating around Minnesota Vikings news, rumors, all that kind of good stuff on social media. The reason why Dalvin Cook makes the list is because of relationships. I will admit, Cook is coming off arguably his worst year that he's ever had as from a career standpoint. Don't just look at the numbers. You actually should see the on the field and go see what other people around the Vikings have been saying about Cook. But the reason why he's on the list is the relationship with Kennedy Polamalu, the Raiders running back coach, who was previously with the Minnesota Vikings. And it was one of the big reasons why I believe that they went out and they got Ameer Abdullah the year before that. So Dalvin Cook makes the list as a trade candidate as I am making this video right now. Before we get into our top 5 Josh Jacobs replacements, reminder, Barcode Burgers Hot Wing Eating Contest. Me against Jermaine Illuminor this Saturday in Las Vegas. And I actually just found out that Trivan, shout out to Mount Raidermore, is going to be pulling up to the scene. So if you want to meet Trivan, you want to meet Jeremy Chuggs and I, some other Raiders players, and 12 to 3 p.m. for a charity. It's going to be for a good cause. If you have any other questions about the event, don't be shy. DM me on Instagram at Mitchell Renz 365. Let's go to number 5 here on the list. It's Zeke, former Cowboys running back. And yes, there's a lot of wear and tear on the tires. And the biggest reason why Zeke was released is because of the amount of money that Dallas was paying him. But when I think of what type of running back the Raiders would potentially look at if Jacobs decides to leave, they would look for a back that they could rely on to get 200-plus carries, maybe 175-plus carries, a back that's good near the goal line. That's what Zeke is at this point. He has done a phenomenal job staying healthy. You can point the finger and say that he's not as good as what he once was, and that's 100% true. But the Raiders would be looking for a back that would be able to carry a heavy load. Giggity. Let's go to number 4 here. It's Sincere McCormick, and I am a lot higher on McCormick than probably a lot of other Raiders content creators out there, maybe a lot of Raiders beat writers, but I like the talent. Sincere McCormick to me is more talented than Britton Brown, and if there was a scenario where Jacobs is no longer on the team and they're looking for other replacements, I would say I'd rather give the ball to Sincere McCormick a lot more than I'd rather give it to Britton Brown. So we'll see what ends up happening here with the UDFA from UTSA. Let's go to number 3, and it's another player you'd have to make a move for. It's Damien Harris. Now, Harris was a free agent. He was with the New England Patriots. He ended up signing with the Buffalo Bills this offseason. But the reason why that this Raiders team would go out and get Harris is because he was drafted by Dave Ziegler. He was a main running back, had a career season with Josh McDaniels back in 2021 where he rushed for 15 rushing touchdowns. He had a career-high 202 carries, 929 yards, and yes, double-digit touchdowns, average 4.6 yards per carry. So I would say that with Harris not being one of the main running backs, he's like the second, third running back in Buffalo. If I'm the Raiders, you pick up the phone, you give him a call and say, hey, you could be the main running back here in Las Vegas, which I think both sides would like. Let's go to number 2, the running back that I believe is the most likely to be signed by the Silver and Black if the worst-case scenario happens here with Jacobs. It's Leonard Fournette. And some of y'all are like, well, why would they go with Leonard Fournette? The relationship. Fournette, Tom Brady, very, very good friends, won a Super Bowl together down in Tampa Bay. And Fournette, you can say that last season was a bad season for him. The offensive line for Tampa, arguably one of the worst O-lines with all the injuries. They couldn't run to save their life. 189 carries, 668 yards, but it's the ability to catch the football. 73 grabs, 523 yards, 6 receiving touchdowns. Also, Fournette has done a better job in the recent seasons in terms of being a decent pass blocker, and that's something that this Raiders organization would definitely look at. So with the ties with Tom Brady, with the versatility, and he's not going to cost all that much money, I think all of those reasons why Leonard Fournette would be the break the glass in case of fire. But the number 1 player, the most likely replacement for Josh Jacobs if the worst happens, he's already on the team. It's Zamir White. The Raiders drafted the running back out of Georgia last season in round 4, pick 122, 6 foot, 215 pounds. The latest reports are he continues to look very good at mandatory minicamp, which I always say it's the best shape of life season, and everybody's doing great. And I think, they are hyping him up a little bit, which kind of is like, hey, Josh, see Zamir White out there. He lost a little bit of weight. You should be worried. I'll say this. I like Zamir White. He's a good running back. Hell of a nickname with Zeus, but he's not even close to Jacobs, and that's not a knock on Zamir. A lot of NFL running backs aren't close to Jacobs because Josh is arguably the best running back in the National Football League. So with Zamir White here as my number 1 replacement, I'm sure that some of the nation out there is wondering, well, why didn't you talk about Ameer Abdullah? It's because the Raiders would not use Ameer Abdullah as a replacement. They would continue to use him as that third down running back. The reason why I brought up Britton Brown, Sincere McCormick, Zamir White, I believe that McDaniels and Ziegler would look at those backs and say that they have the better ability to be able to carry a heavier workload, where Ameer Abdullah in a season last year had only 4 carries. He's more of just the third down special teams running back. The other running back that they might look at, and God, I would hope that they wouldn't, is Brandon Bolden, because Brandon Bolden he's cheeks, man. He's just not very good at football anymore. That proved it to be the point last season. So I would imagine that Brandon Bolden wouldn't be the replacement, and that they would just cut him and save the $2.23 million. But with this regime, you never exactly know what's going to happen. So here are my Josh Jacob replacements. If you want, take a screenshot. Don't be afraid. Share it on social media. Tag me on Twitter. Tag me on Instagram. And again, I want the Raiders to keep Jacobs. I want Jacobs to be on this team. I am simply making this list to show y'all, if Jacobs isn't here, we might have to hit the panic button a little bit. So if Jacobs isn't on the Raiders, who is going to be the team's leading rusher in 2023? It's a tough question. There's no doubt about it. I would say I'm going to put my money on Zamir White. that's the reason why he's the number one replacement. But as always, I'm curious what you guys have to say. I'm going to be looking down in the comments. Again, Jacobs, I said this earlier on a Raiders Report video that I am very confident that he is going to be a Raider in 2023. The expectation for Jacobs is that he is on this roster when the season starts. And there's even reports out there that even if Jacobs doesn't get his new deal, he is going to be willing to play underneath the franchise tag. The franchise tag would get him $10.09 million this upcoming season. So if the Raiders are trying to win this season, and if you agree with this statement, they are going to make sure that number 28 is on their sideline. Oh, excuse me. Number 8 is on their sideline. So if you want Josh Jacobs on this roster, and if you think that him being on this team helps them win, like the video. I'm going to be looking to see who likes, especially you, Hellcat Q. Shout out to all the nation for making it this far in the video, and let's make sure that we have Jacobs in silver and black.